You know, I got to talk about this with you guys because it really annoys me when I hear people say this boxer he can't hang with those boxers because he don't have power to keep them off of him. They said this about Floyd with Leonard and was it Duran and Hearns. In fact, there's a certain school of people who actually believe Emmanuel Stewart that Thomas the Hitman Hearns would beat Floyd Mayweather. Now they saying that Canelo he wasn't able to hurt Bevo, so that means he can't hurt 175 pounders and they would beat him. Then I just went and listened to what's the guy's channel? I forgot his name right now. It'll come to me. I was just listening to the channel and they saying that Bevo, you know, you know, he can't do the same things he was doing with Canelo to Bitterbiev. Because, Bitterbiev had power and them kind of shots, Bitterbiev walked through his power and blah, 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 blah. I'm tired of hearing that shit, okay? Boxing's totally not that. Okay, so stop talking rubbish. Okay, I'm going to say this. Larry Holmes. What was Larry Holmes known for? His power? He was a power puncher? No. Larry Holmes was known for his jab. He ain't got nothing but a jab. Larry Holmes' best punch was a jab. He was a jabber. He had a decent right hand behind it, but it was a jab. The jab was his thing. He was basically a one-handed fighter. Tank, as much as he's a power punch and all that shit, Tank faced Pitbull. Pitbull got power in both hands. He's a short little guy. And Tank held him at bay with one hand. The jab. He hook off the jab and stuff, but he was jabbing him. That's how he won that fight. Jabbing and moving. Stick and move. Okay? I need to teach you guys some boxing. No disrespect to nobody, but I'm tired of hearing this bullshit. One-handed fighter. But all you need in boxing is one hand. Floyd Mayweather said it a number of times, even with Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. when he said, I want to fight you. And Floyd said, I would tie my hand behind my back. I'm going to beat you with just my jab. Okay? I don't need two hands to beat Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. That was what he was making a joke, but basically the jab. All right. Caleb Plant versus Canelo Alvarez. Yes, Canelo Alvarez got him out of there in the 11th round. But he went 10 rounds with Canelo Alvarez, and according to some people, he was winning the fight with just a jab. He ain't got no right hand, but he got a jab. So if I can pull up all of these examples, which are in recent history, and then I spoke about one of the greatest jabbers in boxing history, Larry Holmes, it means that power isn't everything in boxing and strength. Y'all keep on doing it over and over again. Y'all keep on going with the same dumb narrative. Shout out to Chris Oriole. He says, he did it. Yeah, man. He did it. Like I predicted. And the judges actually gave him the fight. Even though they begrudgingly did. They rigged it so that Canelo could win. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Shout out to Chris Oriole. Don't forget to smash the like button, my brother. People keep on saying Canelo didn't hurt Bevo. So that means he can't survive at 175 because he can't hurt any other fighter. No. He couldn't hurt Bevo because Bevo got defense. Or Canelo's punching through other people's guards and stuff. And if he try and Bevo, if he were Bitterbiev, would punch through his guard and blah, 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 blah. First of all, Bevo don't fight that way. How's Bitterbiev going to punch through his guard when he can't even close the distance on him? Because he's popping that jab in his face and pivoting out the way. Bivol fights him just like how he fought every other fighter he has fought in his career. He threads that jab through. Then he follows up with a right hand. And he comes back with a left hook. The usual combination. And he finishes off with a jab. He starts and finishes every combination off with a jab. You know what I don't understand? Y'all help me understand this, because I realize if you have not boxed before, you know, a lot of this shit is strange to you. But anyways, I'm going to ask you guys this question, because I'm tired of it. What is the most important punch in boxing? What is the most important punch in boxing? How did Paulie Malignaggi become a two-time world champion? He had no right hand. All Paulie had was a jab. Okay? Arguably, Paulie beat power punches. He beat Adrian Broder, arguably. All right? What is my point? My point is, you guys put too much weight on non-boxing things. Y'all talk too much about speed. Y'all talk too fucking much about power. It really annoys me, because y'all always in love with fucking power. Y'all talk too goddamn much about quickness and size, when sometimes those factors have nothing to do with how a fighter wins a fight. They're not factors in the fight. Y'all talk about Bivol's too big for Canelo. Why? Why is he too big for Canelo? Why is the division too big for Canelo? Was Bivol all leaning up on Canelo? Was he using his weight and size on Canelo? Fuck no. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Size did not play much of a factor in this fight. You know where you can say size plays a factor in a fight? When a guy is walking you down in a clinch, putting your head down, snuffing out your breath, roughing you up on the inside. Like Joey Maxim versus Sugar Ray Robinson, which a lot of y'all talk about the heat. The heat took Sugar Ray Robinson out. No, motherfucker. It was Joey Maxim who took Sugar Ray Robinson out. He was working his body and putting his weight down on him. That's where size played a factor in a fight. Y'all don't know boxing, man. And y'all sound so ignorant when y'all talk about boxing. I believe most boxers were looking at y'all sideways like, the fuck is he talking about? Because the people, the real pros in boxing and the coaches and the trainers, y'all fans say some real dumb shit to them. I'm sure. Alright? So 175 is not too big for Canelo. And Bitterbiev is not too big and strong for Bivol. Bivol's game is to avoid danger and damage. He's a very careful fighter. And if he's fighting Artur Bitterbiev, he's not gonna let Artur Bitterbiev on the inside. And if he does, he's not gonna let Artur Bitterbiev rough him up on the inside, because that's what Artur Bitterbiev do. He forearm you and knock you down, he'll rough you up on the inside. So Bivol obviously will try to minimize that by keeping him on the outside and controlling him, dictating the fight. And you know, if you look at Bitterbiev and how he throws his jabs and stuff, he cuts the guard. He splits the guard. He splits your guard, especially if you're using a 2 guard. He go split it. And he will get in and get out. He'll get in, get out, pivot around. Him get in, get out, pivot around, throw his combinations, keep him at bay, work the head, work the body with the jab. You know that's what he's going to do. You saw him do it to Canelo. And Canelo is quicker than Bitterbiev. Canelo is smaller, so he can use his size, his small size, to get under Bivol's punches. And he's more elusive. His head movement and everything, he's more elusive. And Bivol still caught him because Bivol has very good jab. He has very good timing. He varies his jab. He varies the pace of the jab. Kind of like Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant is very good at using the jab as well. That's why he caught Canelo. Nobody else has been catching Canelo with a jab. Danny Jacobs couldn't catch Canelo with a jab. He'd be fishing for him. Even though he found Canelo's rhythm later on in the fight. Right? You got to have the quickness of Canelo. If Canelo's too fast for those guys. Joe Smith Jr., he's too fast for Joe Smith Jr. He's too fast for BWF. He was too fast for Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin was easy work for him. Easy work. Easy work. Okay? It's too quick for those guys. By the time they throw a punch, Canelo can throw a 3-4 punch combination on him and pivot out the way. Okay? But Bivol's quick. He's equally as quick as Canelo. He knows the kind of skills that Canelo has and what Canelo brings to the table. All right? You know, you have to understand boxing. This is not rocket science. This is not rocket science what I'm talking about. Canelo taking on Bivol, I could see, not Bivol, BWF. I could see Canelo winning that fight. I absolutely could see Canelo winning that fight. I'm the same guy that said, oh, he ain't got a chance. You know, Bivol, he going to lose to Bivol. Because the kryptonite for Canelo is the foot movement. Consistent foot movement, and picking him off with different angles. And then counterpunching his counter. When you don't have the quickness and the speed and the reaction and the reflexes to counter him, you're not going to win the fight. If you don't have the foot speed and the foot movement to get in and get out of there off of different angles, you're not going to beat Canelo. Okay, you have to have certain attributes to beat him. It's not just anybody's going to beat him just because Bivol beat Canelo. It means everybody else can beat Canelo. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay? It's boxing. This is boxing. This is not a strongman contest. This is not about who's so feared as a puncher. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that. That's not how boxing works. But a lot of you out there keep on going down that fucking road, and it just really annoys me. It really annoys me. Right? It still stands that Canelo versus BWF. He beats BWF. The style is perfect for Canelo because Canelo likes guys coming to him to counterpunch them. And I just can't see BWF hanging with that. He's too quick. He's too sharp. He's too fast. And it doesn't matter that BWF will walk through some of those punches and take, but he's not going to take every single punch flush. He's going to have to respect some of Canelo's power. He's going to have to respect certain things because once he gets hit on the chin, he's going to realize, oh shit, I can't just keep getting hit with this. He'll stop me eventually, right? And Canelo likes to work the body. So, I mean, just because Canelo lost to Bivol, and a lot of you out there didn't expect that, doesn't mean he loses to BWF. It's just a totally different style. Styles make fights. You look at him versus Joe Smith Jr. I mean, my boy, he liked Joe Smith Jr. I get it. Joe Smith Jr. is from the New York area. So I get it. I get why my boy Joe Habib is more partial to Joe Smith Jr. right now. He's high on him. But Joe Smith Jr. can't hang with Canelo. Fuck out of here. He can't hang with... Y'all be tripping, man. Just because Bivol beat Canelo doesn't mean every single light heavyweight can beat Canelo. Alright, y'all tripping. Joe Smith Jr. cannot hang with Canelo. Canelo will beat Joe Smith Jr.'s ass. He won't knock him out, but he'll beat him up. He can't hang with he don't have the hand speed to hang with him. He don't have the pivot work to hang with him. He don't have the foot speed to hang with Canelo. Canelo's way faster than Joe Smith Jr. I just watched footage of Joe Smith Jr. It's slow as fuck. And Canelo is just way faster than him. It's like he's in a different time zone to Joe Smith Jr. Y'all tripping, man. Bivol's a quick dude. He has quick feet. He can match Canelo for foot speed. Just like how Charlo's very explosive. He can match Canelo for foot speed as well as Demetrius Andrade. Now, my boy, I love him to death, but he just don't have that kind of foot speed. What's my dude's name? David Benavidez. David Benavidez, he's not slow. He's not a slow-footed fighter. But he can't match Canelo for foot speed. I'm telling you right now. Canelo is quick. He's a quick motherfucker. Okay, he can't match Canelo for foot speed. And Canelo don't just use his feet for no reason at all. He's got what we call precise footwork. That means he knows exactly where he's placing his feet. He knows why he's doing what he's doing. And I think he backs up David Benavidez at certain points in the fight. He's going to have to work around and pivot around him. And just like what he did to Andy Jacobs, he's going to work around you. He's going to spin. He's going to turn you because he's too fucking slow. His feet is too slow to keep up with Canelo's feet. You understand what I'm saying? So when Canelo pivots around him, David Benavidez is going to be pivoting into a combination by Canelo. I mean, Canelo would tag his ass up. I'm sorry, David Benavidez. I don't mean to sound so brutal, but Canelo versus you is not. I mean, it's just gonna look ugly. It's gonna look ugly right now, bro. You're not ready for Canelo still. All right, Canelo will piece you up on the inside. He'll piece you up at mid-range. He's too quick for you. He'll then piece you up on the outside. Remember, he came from a lower weight class up higher. And it doesn't fucking matter if you think he's not hurting the guy or not. He went 12 rounds with Triple G, throwing every single kind of combination. Triple G ate it up. Didn't mean nothing. Was coming forward still. Didn't mean nothing. Canelo outboxed him. He outpointed him. And he beat his ass up. Okay? He beat him up. And the worst thing in the world is taking a beating from a dude and going 12 rounds just taking a beating. Okay? Triple G lost a lot of years getting beat up by Canelo. Canelo did some nasty work. Him and Danny Jacobs, they did the nasty work on him. Then Derevyanchenko finished it off. He took 4 ass whoopings. 4 ass whoopings. Triple G, he put gears on him because he never been beat up like that. 4 ass whoopings Triple G took. Okay, first one was from Danny Jacobs, who emptied the kitchen sink on his ass. Danny Jacobs was tired at the end of the fight. He beat the tar heels out of Andrade. Could fight his ass off. I'm giving him that. And he's tough as nails. But he was in 4 straight wars. 4 straight wars. Okay? He had 4 straight ass whoopings. That no other description it could put. He's tough as nails. But he took 4, and even recently here against what's the kid's name? The Japanese kid. The Japanese kid offloaded on him too. Everybody be offloading on Triple G these days. He a fucking punching bag. You know, y'all all that, but he's a punching bag, and he would have gotten tagged up even worse if he was with Sanchez right now. Jonathan Banks helped him so that he could cut some angles and pivot out the way and preserve himself a little bit more. And Triple G has slowed down so much. It's from all that punishment being taken. You know? I mean, I give him props for beating a young, strong guy who, was going toe to toe with him. And he was offloading some shit on Triple G. And he ate it. He ate the shots. So I give him props for that. And also from his superior boxing, still putting his combinations together when he had to. And, he had quick combinations when he's putting them together. Still looking sharp. Slow. He's slow as hell now. He's slow as hell. He need more defense. He can't do nothing to Canelo. Canelo would rout his ass. Canelo would stop him. Okay? I give Canelo mad props for taking on that challenge with Bivol. He didn't come up flying colors. The judges was nice to him. They was super kind to him. But Canelo still beats, yeah, I think he beats Benavidez. I think he pulls that off. Charlo, I mean, it depends on Charlo. Charlo won that fight. He'd be coming up in weight. That's a good fight. Canelo versus Charlo is a good fight. I'm not gonna lie. I can't say Charlo beats him, but I can't say that Canelo was gonna win because Canelo hasn't faced Charlo. That's a fight that they haven't made, and that's a fight that should have been made a long time ago, I think. But you never know. Maybe it's the right time, and the right amount of money. Who knows? I got Andrade beating him. I got Andrade beating Canelo. I'm sure now. I'm absolutely confident Andrade beats him. And there's no way in hell Canelo beats Floyd Mayweather ever. That's a fighter that will always beat him until he gets his footwork in order. You cannot beat a Floyd Mayweather with that kind of footwork. I don't mean footwork in terms of his feet being in the wrong position and wrong place. I mean, you got to get that foot speed up, and not the foot speed so much as consistency in moving your feet and getting that movement so that you can actually, if you're walking down a guy, you have the right arsenal, you have the right fuel in your feet to walk a guy down. If you're on the back foot trying to set traps and stuff, you ain't standing or leaning on the ropes in the corner trying to bait a guy in. No, you moving. You moving along the ropes, setting up the guy for when he gets out of position to counter him. You got to be moving on your feet. You can't be leaning up against the ropes. That's not. There's no footwork there. We know you were exceptional with the upper body. James Toney was exceptional with the upper body. You were incredible when it comes to upper body movement. But that's not enough. You have to have that foot movement. He would have beaten Bivol had he had that footwork, that foot movement. And he's lacking that. That's what you're lacking, Canelo. That's it. I'm telling you the truth. I'm letting you know exactly what's up. Your footwork, you slick and all that shit. That's all cool and well. Now you got to do it moving your feet. You got to have your feet always ready to move. Always ready to change an angle. Always ready to shift angles. Always ready. You got to have active feet. That's what you're lacking. You're lacking that. That is what you lack in your game. And I thought after the Arislandi Lara fight, you'd have gotten the memo and started working on that shit. You have not worked on that shit, Canelo. And you need a trainer, in addition to Eddie Reynoso, most importantly, a senior trainer. Shepard's great and all that, but you need a senior trainer who knows about the slick Black American style. You need somebody. I don't care if you take. You should match up with Virgil Hunter or with this guy. If you can get Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's not a senior trainer though, but Floyd could give you tips. Or you can get to Barry Hunter. But you need a senior guy who has had some success with that Black American style of boxing. Because your trainer is saying it's difficult. He needs help. He's telling you he needs help. Eddie Reynoso is telling you he needs help. Oscar done heads you up a long time ago, Canelo. Oscar done heads you up a long. Oscar never was. Don't get it twisted. Oscar was never trying to hurt you. Oscar's been trained by a Black American fighter who's turned trainer. Oscar know what he was saying a long time ago. Okay? Oscar's got that eye too. He knows what you lack in the game. He knew this a long time ago. So, you should have done that. Now, Eddie Reynoso, hell of a trainer. I love Eddie Reynoso. Okay? This is not said in malice and hate. This is said as a fan who loves what you do. And what you do very well. But you lack certain things, Canelo. And if you want to take your game up to the next level and be a motherfucking Don, because you got everything. You got the star power. You got everything, Canelo. You got country behind you. You got everything. You just lack that. That's the thing you lack. And, and then all of the slick stuff that comes with that, you need to at least have an idea, understand the understanding behind it, and then you can do your Mexican version of that. But you got to get those feet more active. The feet are the key. Your foundation's always the key. You know something about Errol Spence that he has that you don't have? That. Errol Spence got active feet. And he knows how to cut those pivots. And he can really box. And he can really box and move. And you need that in your game. You need it. You can't just be barely doing it like what you did against Triple G, because Triple G was a slow fighter. You can't be doing that. You have to do it even better than that. And you mustn't be able. You have to push yourself. You have to push yourself. You to take it to the next level. You have to push yourself, and you have to start today. You have to start. Don't hesitate. Get into it one time. And if you want that rematch with Bebo, even if it's not an immediate rematch in the future, to come back and check and see how far you've reached and how far you've grown, you should check that out. Work on your game. You have still some things to do. You're not 35, 36. You're 31. There may be some wear and tear on your body. Maybe you've done gene therapy or whatever else they do right now to heal the wounds or whatever. And now take it and go to the next level with it. Because you have almost everything that a complete boxer would need. And you have all the nuances and everything. And you got all the experience. The problem is you got to enhance your foundation. That's the thing that Canelo has to work on now. Um, Dimitri Bivol, he does what he does. He's very good at what he does, um, and he has a very promising future. So I'm not really, Bivol does what he does. He has his way of doing what he do. His counters. He has a way of counterpunching. He has a way of using different combinations. That's just Dimitri Vivol's thing. You know, um, he changes levels in his own unique way. He kind of has a robotic way of doing things, but he's very effective with what he does. And I think that he prepared for the Canelo fight. Obviously, he prepared for that particular opponent. He brought in the right sparring partners. He brought in the right work. That's the next thing, Canelo. You need to bring in the right work to deal with whoever you're facing. Um, I'm sure Frank Sanchez is a great sparring partner, and I think this is where you got the confidence to think you can face anybody, anytime, anywhere, because you're getting good work with Frank. But you have to look at guys who bring to the table other factors. That will make you have to expand your game, make you have to go to other places, and that's what Beaver kind of did with you. And if you can get Beaver as a sparring partner for the future, that might be a good thing because you did. I think you got Gavordik. Gavordik was in your camp, and he's a good fighter too, but he's nowhere on Beaver's level. Beaver's a totally different kind of guy to Gavordik. Gavordik's a good fighter though, but you need a fighter who knows how to establish range, knows how to establish distance. You need to have somebody like that in your camp. Find another ex-world champion besides Gavordik. Maybe he's not a light heavyweight. Maybe he is. With Floyd pulled in Zav Judah, and he pulled in Demarcus Chop Chop Corley. He wasn't just pulling them in for fun as sparring partners. He was pulling them in because they were some of the best southpaws in boxing in this era. So when he prepped for Pacquiao, he pulled in them two guys was always in his camp. He pulled in other guys, other southpaws, but he makes sure he had those two guys there. Those two guys are masters at the southpaw style. You need to find somebody who's a master at distance control and have them as a sparring partner. They don't have to be in the weight class as you. They could be in a low weight class. They could be so you can deal with the speed, the power, the size. So I think that's something Canelo need to look at, so they can crack the code. But you gotta have somebody to push you. That might be whooping your ass in camp, but you're getting the idea, the understanding of how to maneuver around those people, because that's what you need. It can't be comfortable at any point in time from here on in. Especially if you want to rematch Bevo, you got to step it up. You got to step up your game. 10, 12, 14, 15, maybe even 20 times what you're doing right now, and that's kind of saying a lot. To get those feet, to do what they're supposed to be doing. Those because your body doesn't seem to. Your body wants to do things in spurts. It wants to do things in a burst and chill, and then a burst and then chill. You can't do that with Bevo. You can't do that with a fighter who has active feet and can really move around the ring. So you have to get it consistent like them. You have to get up to their level of foot activity. You'll be able to match it, and if you can supersede it, so that they're uncomfortable instead of you. They're the ones having to second guess their movements while you putting pressure on them. And that's the difference. You have to be able to do that. So I think that's where he has to work on his game. Um, that's what you got to do. You know, I'm gonna say this. Let me tell you how important that is. Rocky Marciano was a fighter who he pushed the pace in every single fight. He used to get dropped. All kinds of shit used to happen with Rocky Marciano, but he pushed the pace in the fight. Pushed the pace, just pace. He pushed. He just bring pace straight through the fight, and he just keep on going faster and faster and faster. You take the pace and put more pressure and just keep going. And that's where fighters will make mistakes with him. Rocky he wasn't the best puncher. What I mean by that is he wasn't the best boxer. Sorry, he wasn't the best boxer. He wasn't the best jabber or the best of anything. In fact, he was a short, stubby guy. But his foot speed and his foot conditioning was fucking phenomenal. Even though he's a flat-footed fighter, he pushed the pace. He pushed the fucking pace. Okay? You have to get to the point where you push the pace till you are completely uncomfortable with it. And you feel like you're in some other dimension. You have to be able to do that. But you have to be able to do that on the back foot and the front foot. On the back foot and the front foot. Ain't nobody gonna fuck with you after that. You're gonna be a master. And you need somebody who knows the slick style of boxing. You can't just, your trainer's good and everything, but you need somebody who can get you to bob and weave, get you to slip and dip while you're moving. So your upper body's doing one thing and your lower body's doing another. They have to work independent of each other. Otherwise, all the stick and moving, it don't mean nothing. You have to be able to slip and dip while you stepping backwards off a pivot. It's all these kinds of things I'm talking about. That's why I said you need a experienced trainer to put all that stuff together. Because it's going to call for a lot of different things so that you can get yourself in position to counterpunch a guy. You need to always be in the position to counterpunch a guy at any given time. Off the back foot or the front foot. And that's the excellence that Floyd Mayweather had. That's what Floyd brought to the table. That's what we're talking about. All right? You think Pernell Whitaker, you think of Shakur Stevens, you think of Terrence Crawford, you think of Errol Spence. This is what these guys bring to the table. That's why they pound for pound. And you have to be able to do that. You can't just be playing possum in the corners, just sitting down in the corner waiting for a guy to close distance. You can't, no. You have to be able to step around him, step backwards. You're walking backwards, stepping backwards, but setting traps at the same time, baiting and countering, slipping and dipping certain punches and coming over overhand shot or whatever. You gotta walk them into shit, and to walk them into shit means you gotta walk backwards. You gotta get them to commit to something, and then you can. And that's the thing with Canelo, and that's why I said that it's critical. He works on his feet. That's the fundamentals. But that's not enough. You not only you have to work on the drills, you got to work on the drills with the slickness that comes with the drills to set up a guy. Because when you're going backwards, you're not going back. You know it. You're Canelo. You're not going backwards just because you want to go backwards. Ain't nobody just making you go backwards. You're going backwards to set the guy up. You're walking the guy into something. That's the whole point behind back foot boxing. Boxing on the back foot. The whole point behind back foot boxing is to walk a guy into something. That's the whole point. Why circle a ring fighting off the back foot if you're not trying to set up a guy? It's trap setting. That's the whole point of back foot boxing. I'm not fighting off the back foot because I'm a coward like these fucking casuals talk about. I'm not fighting off the back foot because you're making me fight off the back foot. No, I'm fighting off the back foot because I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to bait you into something. That's the whole point. Why fight off the back foot otherwise? Right? So, I mean, Coach Harold Bradley would tell you the same thing. That's the whole point behind Sugar Ray Leonard fighting off the back foot, Sugar Ray Robinson fighting off the back foot. They was fighting off the back foot not just because they want to create a certain distance with you. No, that even though that's part of it, and the reason it's part of it is because I want to see you. I want to see exactly what you're doing so I can set you up. You understand? It's not, you know, I don't know if boxers get the wrong idea or what, but your opportunities come, the further a guy is away from you, the more time you have to react to him. So the safest form of boxing, in a way, is outboxing or fighting on the outside of the pocket. Right? It's the safest form because the guy has to reach you. He has to get to you, and it takes time to get to you. And so that's why it's considered safe. It's risky because a lot of people don't know how to do it. But once you know how to do it and you're a master of it, it's safe. And then, but every range has its advantages and disadvantages. And depending on how your defense is for each different range, and your reaction time and your reflexes, and your timing, it could be easy for you. So, for example, mid-range fighting, you're both in the pocket, you're both within each other's range. It means you got to dip on the punches a lot, roll on the punches, pivot around. And if your pivot game is good and you're used to dipping and stuff, it's also easy, right? And then on the inside, body to body, deep in the pocket, body to body, there's a whole different set of movements that you have, which is almost like a dance with your partner. So depending on depending on your positioning, how you position your body, I don't know. I wish I could show this, but the way how you position your body, you can move with that person's body. One, two, you can actually direct that guy. You can, I call it body checking, but it's another word for it, where you can actually handle the guy and turn him the direction you want him to be in, to position you to put the shot together. So it's a little bit more nuanced in that it's not just throwing punches, but it's also how you may use your lead hand or the other hand to sort of turn your opponent, or how you use your body, your shoulder, or how you use your feet to separate a guy and keep him off balance, or how you use your shin, your knees to separate a guy, or to turn a guy a certain way. How you use your momentum, how you use your clinches to turn a guy. Again, all of these things are an art. You see, it's an art to infighting. How you may move a guy's arm out the way so you can catch him in the spleen or catch him down the solar plexus, etc. It's an art to it. And but if you're good at the different ranges, this is where your advantage is in. So as versatile as you can be helps you so much in boxing. Versatility, and the more you can do many different things, that means the wider your skill set or the more skills you have, the better your opportunities to put your opponent in a position they may not be able to be in. Especially if you notice that they are deficient in an area in the fight. In the fight, you realize, oh, this guy's uncomfortable right here. I'm going to press that. I'm going to press that, see what I can do. So that's the thing with boxing. And this is what a lot of you guys just don't understand. Like, you think it's all about power and speed and all this bullshit, when it's really about what can I make my opponent uncomfortable with? What is he not comfortable doing? And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep on doing that, and I'm gonna see how much success I can have. That's what boxing is about, right? And if you find that you and your opponent have similar skills, now I have to figure out what can I do to get an edge over him, because I need to find something that I do better than he does, and I got to stick with that, and then use that to neutralize him. You understand? That's how boxing works. Really, that's the real way how boxing works. If you just go out there guns blazing, stupid. It's stupid. You think you're going to overpower somebody? Come on, man. That's how a fan would think. But as a boxer, you can't think like that. You go in there focused on threading the needle, seeing where you can land on your target. At the same time, you're also you got some kind of game plan in your mind based on what your coach or your trainer might have told you about your opponent. So he might go out there and say, okay, go out there, take your time, throw your jabs, you know, and feel this guy out. All right. So the game plan might be in the beginning. I'm just feeling this guy out. Round one, round two. I just want to see what he do, and then we'll come back in the corner when we realize what he does very well, and what he does very well, we want to see if we could take that away from him. What he doesn't do well, we want to see if we could exploit that. Right? So that's the way how boxing really is. You know, it's not about it's obviously about your game plan and executing your game plan, but you go out there and it's really I got to find out things now. Because this is where the real truth comes when you're facing somebody. You got to find out what it is really they bring to the table, what really they do well, what is really. Just watching them on videotape is not enough. When you get in there, you get to see it firsthand. You get to know what's going on. When you go back to your corner, your trainer might say X, Y, and Z. You might tell your trainer, well, this is what I see here. Depending on your experience, because if you're not very experienced, your trainer's going to tell you what to do next. He going to have to be your eyes. He going to have to be because you don't have the experience. But when you're experienced now, you could have that rapport with your trainer. You'd be like, yeah, well, you know what? I see you protect your body really well. You keep that arms tucked real nice. I was trying to land a hook. I was trying to land a right hand. He protect the body really well. And then the trainer might tell you, well, still keep it going. Let's just peck at him. Let's see what you do. Feint up the top and come back down to the body, right? So that's what real boxing really is about. It's at a certain point in time in a relationship with a trainer and a boxer, it's supposed to be a rapport between the two. They supposed to be brainstorming. There's one guy watching with a pair of eyes from the outside, and there's one guy, he's in the action with his pair of eyes. He's using his pair of eyes to see what the fuck's going on in the ring. Sorry about the F-bombs, by the way, people. KP from KC. He never nullified the jab. No, he couldn't. Shout out to KP from KC. He couldn't. He couldn't nullify Caleb Plant's jab either. To be fair, Caleb Plant was landing there on the jab on him. And he was on the button with that. You know why? Because one, the jab wasn't coming super regular the same way. It wasn't coming with the same speed. It wasn't coming with the same velocity. It wasn't coming with the same power. He was using different kinds of jabs. He was using a probing jab, Shakur Stevenson style. Even though he was using the jab regularly, he wasn't doing it with the same kind of timing all the time, so he couldn't time it. He couldn't catch it or go under it. Nope. Caleb Plant was the same thing. Caleb Plant was actually working his jab quite well as well. You understand? So there's not many boxers in boxing that has that understanding of the jab, but Bivol does. Caleb Plant does. Benavidez don't have it yet. But Benavidez, he still closed distance pretty nicely with his jab. But I'm still not impressed with Benavidez yet. After seeing that Charlo may have a better. See, the problem with Charlo is Charlo put everything on his jabs. He don't really probe with his jab. He just have a hard jab. And he pops his jab hard all the time. Bivol don't do that. You see? Bivol will touch you with the jab. Bivol wasn't putting full power on anything. And Bivol told y'all that before he fought. He said, I'm not looking to just overpower Canelo. I'm not trying to put mustard on all my shots. I'm just trying to touch him with it. You know what I mean? He put sufficient power on his shots so Canelo would respect him and not just try and walk him down, But, Canelo couldn't time the jab. He couldn't time Caleb Plant's jab either. Caleb Plant had a hell of a jab, So, it's boxing. Yeah, but Charlo's a jabber, yeah, no doubt about it. But he struggles with guys. He struggled with the other guy, the switch hitting guy. Fight. Um, he struggles with guys still, and while he's quick twitch and he's very sharp. That's one very very good thing about Charlie. He's very sharp. He's a smart fighter too. I don't know how him versus Canelo would go. He's a high profile fighter. I can tell you, Andrade go beat Canelo's ass. He'd outbox him. He'd outbox Canelo. Andrade just levels above what Canelo brings to the table right now. Andrade would beat Canelo, but I don't think that Charlo. I could say that definitively. I don't think there's very few people who could beat Canelo. Charlo would have to be at 168 for a little while too, because Charlo tries to overpower his opponent. Charlo is not like Bevo. Bevo doesn't put mustard in. He boxes you. He out and But Charlo's not that kind of fighter. He's a very aggressive kind of fighter, which is why Matt Carabuff was landing shit on him all the time. Matt Carabuff was landing left hands on him. You know, he did very well against Derevchenko. He did very well against Derevchenko, Sergey. But even so, I thought that he was trying to still load up too much. Load up too much with his shots. You can't do that against Canelo. It'd be an exciting fight though. If Charlo and Canelo fought, it would be exciting. It would be exciting. But with Canelo, you can't load up on everything. You can't load up on everything. And he would load up on everything. Charlo would try to hit him with everything. you know. And so, I don't know. I think Canelo still might beat Charlo. It's very possible. But Charlo might beat Canelo. And the fact that Canelo has not faced Charlo to this day tells me I don't know if he has confidence or his trainer that he could beat Charlo, which is sad. You know. Um, do I think that there's anybody else on the horizon that could beat Canelo besides? I could definitively tell you that I think that Demetrius Andrade would beat him. I don't think there's anybody else I could definitively say that. Not Charlo, not Benavidez, not Bitterbiev, and not Joe Smith Jr. There's very few fighters that could actually beat Canelo, and one of them is Bivol and Andrade. And he knows Andrade can beat him. That's why he's talking like that. And I had Caleb Plant beating him. Caleb Plant has the tools to beat Canelo. He came up short. But I think Caleb Plant's one of those guys that could actually beat Canelo as well. But there's not much people on the horizon that could beat Canelo. So he could have, if Bevo never existed, he could have coasted with what the skill set he has. But he has to expand his skill set, and he should have done this a long time ago, and then we wouldn't be having this conversation. And then I could actually say, oh yeah, Canelo could beat Floyd Mayweather. I can't say that. I could say Terrence Crawford could beat Floyd Mayweather because I know what Terrence Crawford brings to the table. Jerome Ennis is an incredible fighter. I know this is early in the game for him, but I know what he brings to the table. Them boys they not no joke. They definitely could beat Floyd Mayweather. Canelo can't beat Floyd Mayweather. He can't fuck with him. Not right now. He has to get his footwork in order. Complete footwork. Complete active footwork. Which encompasses a whole bunch of stuff, but just get the ball rolling and start today. So that's what I got for you guys. Another guy that might give Floyd a whole set of trouble would be Andre Ward, especially on the inside. And I think Dimitri Bivol, no. He's close though. He'd give Floyd a good fight, but I can't outright say that he would beat Floyd. But he does a lot of good things. But I think Floyd catches him because his head sometimes is on center line. So I think Floyd catches him with certain shots. He'll have to slip them. And Bivol tries to fight at range. I think Floyd has the agility to close the distance on him and get there. And this is the thing that Canelo lacks. This is what Canelo lacks. I would have been saying Canelo would have beaten his ass if Canelo could have closed the distance by bobbing and weaving, using that footwork to go to the side, coming off of angles, walk to him, and if he's doing anything, you back off again, circle him, bait him in, that kind of stuff. But I don't see that. You see, Floyd has that stuff. Canelo don't really have that stuff. He could do it maybe once or twice, but he can't do it all through. Like Floyd's consistent. He can do it. He can do it the whole fight. He could do it for 40 rounds probably. You know, and that's where I think Floyd would beat Bivol because Floyd has that ingredient. Canelo don't have that ingredient. Otherwise, I'd be saying, yeah, Canelo might possibly be able to beat Floyd if he had that ingredient. He doesn't have it. Okay, so um, Bevo was able to show us that Canelo wouldn't be able to beat Floyd at this point in time. But if he works at his craft, the thing he doesn't want to do a lot of, obviously, is move. You need to move, Canelo. You just gotta move. You got the quickness, you got the explosiveness, but you should be able to sustain that, and you must be able to move around the ring. Be very mobile. Be very nimble on your feet. Be very quick. And you have to have that for 12 rounds, 14 rounds, 20 rounds. You need to have it. And once you have that ingredient, you're going to win fights. You're going to be able to do things that people say you couldn't do. Guys like Bevo will be easier work for you. You would beat Bevo because I think you're better than him and more nuanced than him in many different ways. But it's just you don't move your feet like that. You don't move your feet like that. And that's why you get so tired. You don't move your feet like that. So that's all Canelo has to do. It's a lot, but that's what he has to do. If he wants to be a complete fighter and all-around fighter, people are going to criticize him. They're going to say, oh, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you shouldn't go to 175. Fuck them. Right? They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay? They can't tell Canelo what he can and can't do unless it's technical. Unless it's technical stuff that they observed. And they were like, hey, man, this man don't do this. He don't do that. That's different. That's where you're observing a guy and you realize, oh, shit, this is his problem. This is what he needs to work on. And if he works on this, he'll be, that's different. You understand what I'm saying? And I notice I'm not putting Canelo down in the sense that he'll never beat Bivol or he'll never do this. I don't have time for that bullshit. I'm pointing out what he's deficient in, what he needs to work on. And if he works on that shit, ain't nobody stopping Canelo. But he has to work on it. He has to keep working on it and keep working on it and keep working on it. Just like how he's a perfectionist in other areas, he needs to work on that. And that's his movement. He needs to work on continuously being able to move, stick, and move, all the other things that accompany that. And he needs to get a trainer that understands the Black American style of boxing, make it simple for him to understand, and realize it's elaborate and everything, but it really is just another style of boxing. It's just another style of boxing. And I mean, Nicolino Loche, Argentinian boxer, slick as fuck. We had Mexican fighters who were slick as fuck. I'm trying to remember the guy's name right now. Very slick fighter, still alive to this day. Maybe you should go have a visit with that dude and let him work with the footwork. I forgot the guy's name right now, but he was, I believe he was one of the lower weight classes. Slick motherfucker. Slick. You ain't hitting that dude like that. And he moved around the ring, and maybe that's the guy who needs to get on board to get him tips and stuff. Maybe he's not a trainer, but get some tips from those old school fighters from Mexico who are slick. You gotta do something more than what you're doing, because clearly you're having difficulty and you're coming up short. And The reason you're having that kind of difficulty is not only because you're facing good fighters, but also because you lack certain attributes that you actually have the tendency towards, but you're just not working on them. You're not working on them. You know the drills for the shit. Work on the drills. You know, and that's the thing that really gets me because since 2000 and when did he face Eric Lar? 2014. That's 8 years ago. You could have been a master of this shit by now. You know what I mean? 8 years ago. 8 years ago. You should have been working on this shit 8 years ago. So, anyways, wherever, man. I'm just saying. It's a little frustrating for me, but it is what it is, and that's why it's okay. That's water under the bridge. At least now, I hope that he's gonna pay attention to that because Beaver was always a step ahead of him, getting into position quicker than he was, and counterpunching him because again, the feet, the feet, the feet. And Bevo's not the slickest guy in the world, but you can't just touch him like that. You're not just touching Bevo like that. You know what I mean? So kudos to Bevo. Bevo showed us that he's one of those elite boxers. He's a very special boxer. At 175, I have him beating all the guys, the top guys at 175. So Canelo fought I think the best 175 pounder. I'm not mad at it. Not mad at it at all. I want to see Bevo versus the winner of Bitterbeef, Joe Smith. I'm gonna have a look at Bitterbeef again. I like Bitterbeef. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I like Bitterbeef. That's my dude. He old and everything, but I like him. I like his attitude. I like how he's. I like how big and tough and rough he is. Right? That's my fighter right there. I like him. I like Bevo too, but I like Bitterbeef more. He remind me a little bit of Marcus Maidana. He got a mean streak in him. He do whatever it takes. He rough and rugged. So I like him. And he's strong as hell. I like him a lot. Joe Smith Jr. is a good fighter too. Don't get me wrong. He's a good fighter. I haven't been following Joe as much, but I know he beat the brakes off of Bernard Hopkins. He said, "You too old for this fucking sport. Get out of here." He beat him out the ring. Sorry about the F-bombs, y'all. I don't mean anything negative by it. It's just sort of pops out on me. But it's funny as hell to watch him knock Bernard out the ring, and then Bernard gets back up like, "Oh man, it was rough and rugged." And Bernard's tough as hell, man. I don't give him that. But like Bernard still feels he can duke it out with him. Bernard Hopkins, you gotta love the guy, man. It's his attitude. It's the mindset. Y'all don't understand. It's the mindset. He got a winning mentality. He got knocked out the ring. He said, "I was pushed out the ring." He got knocked completely out the ring, and his mind is still telling him, "I could win this fight. This ninja's nothing." You gotta love that. That's a mindset. That's how boxers are. Some post I saw Canelo say he thinks he won the fight and he wants the rematch and shit. That's the mindset. I know it's a little delusional, but that's the mindset. Teofimo Lopez said the same thing. Lomachenko said the same thing. It's the mindset of a fighter. They always believe there's a chance. They always believe, nah, I can win this. I can win this. Because they got the can-do attitude. And they've gone through adversity. So you're going to have that kind of sometimes delusional, and it takes a trainer or somebody to bring you back down to earth and say, "No, you really lost this. Now let me show you how you can win it." You understand what I'm saying? Because you gotta accept the reality that you lost. Now you have to go back, look at the tape and stuff, see what you didn't do, see what you need to work on. See what I'm saying? Because once you got that reality check, you know what? I actually lost. Now fucking fans can fuck up the situation. If you listen to his fans and they chain you up like Pacquiao, he get chained up by his fans. Ugas is nothing, man. If I was younger, I'd kick his ass. No, motherfucker. He was using science. He was using the sweet science in your ass. You need to know what it is that he did to beat you. Because guess what? This was done before by guess who? Floyd Mayweather. Okay? They're borrowing Floyd Mayweather's blueprint all the time to beat these dudes. I mean, why not? If there's a blueprint out there how to beat a dude, why not just take it and use it to beat the dude? If you have the attributes, or at least some of the attributes that that fighter had, why not use it? I mean, the dude lost. Floyd would say it too. You say Mosley had 5 losses. I'm not losing to no guy with 5 losses. That means somebody out there beat his ass, and several people beat his ass 5 times. There's no way I'm not gonna figure out how to beat his ass. That's the attitude. And when you think about it that way, now the fighter who's been beaten, he has to think like that. Everybody gunning for me. Everybody's coming for me, right? So I understand when Canelo was knocking out guys left, right, and center is because he's saying, I don't want people to say the judges robbed this dude or robbed that dude. I'll make it conclusive. I'm going to knock this motherfucker out, right? But then on top of that, you have to think about it like this. Canelo's also a guy, he lost. He lost to the Beevil. He lost to Floyd Mayweather. There's a blueprint on how to beat him. So what do? You have to work on your game and the deficiencies in your game to close up that blueprint. And then let everybody believe that that blueprint still exists when it doesn't. See? And you come back bigger and better with more foot movement. Being able to move and change and make angles because the pivot work is important. And you let them believe whatever the fuck they want to believe. But you worked on your game so that you're ready for all these guys. KP from Casey says, after seeing what Charlo may have a better chance, and then KP from Casey, I didn't even follow this, bro. He said Bevo does probe a lot. Yeah, with the jab. Like Floyd was doing. Remember Floyd had touched his lead hand, and then he touched the next lead hand. That's to get Canelo to draw his hands down to try and counter him. And when Canelo tries to counter him, Floyd comes with that right hook, and then the uppercut up the center and that kind of stuff. That's what Bevo be doing. So he's not just jabbing. Bevo did a lot of really good things. That's why when I heard Benavidez's father, Benavidez Sr., say Bevo ain't got no jab, I was like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Lil Osama, shout out to Lil Osama. BF versus Bevo, make it happen. First, BF has Joe Smith Jr., the face. So we have to see how that turns out. He got Joe Smith Jr. in front of him. I think they're supposed to fight somewhere in June or something like that. Bad style matchup for Canelo. They should have adjusted during the fight. It's hard to adjust when you can't keep up with the other guy, foot speed wise, because you're fading. Andrade would beat him. Yup. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I'm trying to explain to people this ain't about size and weight. This is not about size and weight. If this was about size and weight, which is a big fucking excuse in my opinion, then Floyd Mayweather would have never beaten Canelo Alvarez. Styles make fights. Erislandy Lara would have never had given Canelo all those problems in the fight that he had with him. Canelo had to come from behind to beat Erislandy Lara. He did beat him in my opinion, but it was a close fight. Right? Styles make fights. Caleb Plant gave him all kinds of problems. Canelo was ready to quit that fight. It was his trainer telling him to keep his composure and keep on. And Caleb opened up. And in a trade, Canelo caught him with a right hook? Or a left hook. I think it was a left hook. Hit Caleb Plant on his liver area. It was a right hook, yeah. It was a right hook. And he hurt Caleb. At the end of the 10th round, he hurt Caleb. And then Caleb started at the beginning of the 11th. And then Canelo came with that leaping left hook. Followed up with a left uppercut when Caleb tried to lean in to dip to protect himself. He came with that left uppercut, split the guard. Caleb went down, man. when Caleb was in the fight. Andrade's, I think he got a lot more skills and a lot more tools to bring to the table than a Bevo, you know, and I just think Andrade would. Andrade's looking at Canelo like, please let me have the Canelo fight at some time in the future. Cause he's like watching Canelo like food right now. And again, it's not about stopping Canelo. It's just about outboxing him. And I know 1,000,000,000% that Demetrius Andrade has every tool in the book to outbox Canelo. He can outfight him on the inside. He can outbox him on the outside. He's very mobile. He's very athletic. He's everything. Boxing IQs are up there. I mean, that would be a phenomenal fight. Demetrius Andrade has been about, a little bit out of shape these days. His last two fights, he was fading down the stretch. So if Canelo got to catch him, he can catch him now because Andrade's coming out of his prime if he's not out of his prime already. I think he's 34, 33 or 34 right now. So he's going to slow down a little bit. Doesn't mean nothing, though. He still beat Canelo. Prime or no prime. But I got him beating Canelo. Easy. Bevo shut him out. And I think Andrade just beats him easy. So Little Osama said, BWF versus Bevo, make it happen. Yeah, of course. Bevo wanted that fight before BWF was going to face Joe Smith Jr. I think they both were top rank right now or something like that. So Joe Smith Jr. versus BWF is what Aram wants. Aram said that Canelo was going to beat Bevo. Well, Aram, you're wrong. And Bevo's coming for your man. If BWF wins this fight, it's going to be Bevo versus BWF. If Joe Smith Jr. wins the fight, it's going to be Bevo versus Joe Smith Jr. too. He already beat Joe Smith Jr., so I know he could beat Joe Smith Jr. again. So the question is, will he get to face BWF? Will BWF be able to knock out Joe Smith Jr.? I don't think so. Joe Smith Jr. is a big, freaking light heavyweight. Has tremendous power in his right hand. That's his thing. He's a right-hander. He has improved as a fighter too, becoming world champion and everything. I think he stopped his last two opponents. He's big. He's strong. I don't see him having any exceptional speed or anything. He has good timing. He has good boxing IQ. That's why he was able to beat Bernard Hopkins like that. He throws a variety of punches, but also he's got a decent defense. But he's not particularly quick or he's not particularly fast. He's not particularly explosive. But he's good. He's all around good. That's why he's a champion. I just think that Bevo will just pick him apart as usual and beat him. And I think that BWF, if Joe Smith Jr. ends up somehow infighting BWF, as much as Joe Habib thinks Joe Smith Jr. can do something to BWF, I don't know, man. BWF is... When I tell you BWF is strong, he is strong. Way stronger than Joe Smith Jr. Why do I know this? Because BWF, I know Joe Smith Jr. did construction and all that, but BWF was a heavyweight. He was a super heavyweight. That's BWF. So, and he shrunk down to light heavyweight. So, BWF is, I cannot tell you how unbelievably strong. If Joe Smith Jr. tries to go in any way, shape, or form, toe-to-toe with BWF, he's not going to win that fight. He has to box him. Canelo, same thing. He has to box BWF. But I see Canelo about boxing him. It's not too much of a problem. And if Joe Smith Jr. can outbox BWF, he'll win. Can't outbox BWF. BWF can fight off the back foot, the front foot. No, BWF is a very, 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 very strong. I cannot emphasize that enough. He's a very strong light heavyweight. He's very, very strong. He's smart too. He boxes smart, but he'll rough you up. Like, you don't play like you're gonna clinch him or something. He will rough you up, Marcos Maidana style. It's very, very rough. But that'd be a good clash actually. BWF versus Joe Smith Jr. If there's anybody to knock out Joe Smith Jr., it's gonna be BWF. he got some. He got some mean ass power, man. He got some mean ass power, and I've seen Bevo get Joe Smith Jr. in all kinds of trouble. The ending of the 12th round, Bevo just unleashed a barrage of shots and was beating the living snot out of Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith Jr. was saved by the bell. Because he didn't know where he was. Right? He was beating the living snot out of him. So, Bevo can, I think he can stop guys if he really, really wanted to. He could stop guys. But that's not his thing. His thing is outboxing you, And I could see Bevo beating BWF. That's the fight I really want. Bevo versus BWF. But you never know. Joe Smith might spoil the party. BWF is old. He's old, so 2 Russians also going at it for the final would be interesting. That never happened before, I don't think, in World Championship boxing for undisputed. So that would be cool. Especially if Bevo ended up being undisputed, that would be cool. That would be deserving of him. You know what I mean? As a light heavyweight champion, and then maybe he could take on Gilberto Ramirez. Do you think Bevo could have stopped Canelo? No. I don't think he could have stopped him. Canelo's got good defense. Defensively, Canelo. That's why Canelo could go up all these weight classes. He's got good defense. I don't see anybody. I don't care who they are stopping Canelo. I don't think so. I think Canelo has exceptionally good defense. And for that reason, this is why he's able to do what he's doing. Remember, he's only 5'8.5", about 5'9". He has a 71-inch reach, which is not bad. Let me just make it abundantly clear. For those of you who know a little bit of boxing, Montel Griffin was 5'6", 5'5", with I think was a 70-inch reach. And this guy beat Roy Jones Jr., he beat James Toney, and he was a light heavyweight. So anybody saying, Dimitri beat, Harry Greb, the great Harry Greb. We don't have footage of him. He beat 6'1" light heavyweight champion in what's his name? In Gene Tunney. He beat Gene Tunney. So it's not about dimensions if you know how to use your size. So Canelo, for example, he might have been slightly shorter in terms of length, and then significantly shorter in terms of height with Bivol. Bivol is 6 feet tall, I think, and he has a 72-inch reach like Floyd. And Canelo is 5'9", so Bivol's got like a 3-inch height advantage on him. And the reach advantage, he got like about an inch and a half reach advantage, which is it could be significant if you use it properly, which Bivol did. And but Canelo's fought guys with 78-inch reaches. Like he fought Callum Smith. Callum Smith was 6'3", 78-inch reach, much longer, much taller, much bigger guy than him. Probably came into the fight, weighing like 180-something, 190-something pounds, on fight night. So it's not like Canelo hasn't faced guys that are tremendously longer and taller than him. This is nothing new for Canelo, and he thought Bivol was that kind of dude. But Bivol, his jab is different. You see, Bivol throws his jab and he moves. He step in with the jab, or he may step around you with the jab. You can come in and come out at a different angle with the jab. Or he may just feint the jab and throw something else. So, Bivol has variety with his jab. It's not just the same jab over and over, or one or two different variations of it. No, he got different things going on. He's a master at throwing his jab. So it's different with Bivol. You know what I mean? And it's not about throwing a hard jab. Bivol didn't really throw a whole set of hard shots. He just wanted to make sure he touched Canelo. He make sure he got him there. You know, catch him with shots that he didn't expect. That kind of thing. Because it's not the hardest shot you throw that hurts your opponent. It's a shot that the opponent didn't expect. You understand? You get caught when you're not bracing for it. That actually hurts more than a shot where you load up on it, telegraph it, and then the guy sees it coming, and then he can wait to catch it and then counter it. Right? So, a simple jab could hurt a guy if he's not expecting it to snap his head back. Right there, he respect you. So, boxing's not it's not intuitive like how people try to make it out to be. You know, well-placed shots are better than hard shots. Trying to go for hard shots. Because when you try to go for hard shots, you basically kind of tighten up your body, tense up your body. Sometimes, Canelo do that a lot. You just gotta let the shot come through. You gotta let the shot flow. That's where you really get your power. Not tightening up on the shot and trying to, don't do that. Do it normally. Just throw the shot normally. You're going for speed, but you're throwing the shot. You hear how much power I get in that? Right? Versus, right? There, I'm forcing the shot. You know what I mean? I'm tensing up and I'm forcing the shot. Whereas if I just let the shot go, I get more power. So there's all these things that, I think Bivol could make Reynoso toss the towel next time about. I mean, I don't see what you guys see. I didn't really see Bivol land all those I didn't see him land combinations on Canelo. I saw him land a punch or two. I saw Canelo snapping back from punches and stuff. It may look very dramatic, but he's not actually getting touched. And all you got to do is look at Canelo's face afterwards and look at his body afterwards. And you'll see he didn't really take a beating. He's got good defense. I don't see Bivol stopping Canelo. I don't see anybody stopping Canelo. I say it again. I'll maintain what I said. I don't see anybody stopping Canelo. He has good defense. He has very good defense. Very good defense. The only way I think you can catch Canelo and knock him out is if he's not seeing the shots. And he sees every single shot that's coming at him. He has reaction time. He'll turn his head with a shot. He'll exaggerate and send his chin up in the air even further off of a shot. He rides shots very well. Very, very well. So a lot of what you're seeing where Bivol looks like he punched through Canelo there with a shot, he didn't really actually do nothing to Canelo. And that's what, the same thing with Caleb Plant. When you thought Canelo was rocking Caleb Plant was riding the shots. He was rolling and riding the shots. He was taking the steam off the punches a lot and rolling shots and stuff. Canelo doesn't tend to get marked up, though. Only rarely has been when he gets cut. But he doesn't get marked up because he doesn't get hurt. He's taking steam off of shots. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. He's riding shots. That's why he's not getting hurt. That's why after the end of the fight, he's just chilling. He's just chilling because he barely. Caleb Plant barely got touched by Canelo. Caleb Plant barely got touched by Canelo. That's defense. You guys understand what I'm saying? Canelo's not eating punches. He's not eating punches. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. What you're seeing looks worse than it actually is. He doesn't have much swelling because he's not getting touched. He's taking the steam off the punch. Even when Canelo fought Floyd, and Floyd is teeing off on Canelo, you see Canelo turn his whole head. His head goes all the way back the other way. Wow, he's riding the punch. He's riding the punch. That's why Canelo said Floyd didn't really do much of anything to him. It looked that way, but he didn't really do much to him. Canelo's never been dropped, ladies and gentlemen. He's never been dropped. He's been hurt by Jose Cotto. Jose Cotto hurt him. That's the only guy I know that ever hurt Canelo. Triple G never hurt him. He got defense. Triple G's a very hard puncher. He never hurt him. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. never hurt him. Danny Jacobs never hurt him. Danny Jacobs hit him with a right hand hard. Bah! Canelo's head went whoop all the way back that way, right? He rode the punch. And people are like, oh, man, Canelo got a hell of a chin. No, he don't have a hell of a chin. He rode the punch. That's part of boxing. That's something Canelo knows how to do. You understand? It's boxing. We're talking. We're not talking about tough man contests. Canelo, if he were to take the punch full on, he'd probably get his jaw broken. That's called riding punches. That's something that Mexican fighters, Triple G is good at doing that as well himself. You see Triple G's head go all the way back that way. But he rode the punch. So that's why his face is not as marked up against certain punches and certain fighters. Remember David Lemieux fight? His face wasn't as marked up because he was riding punches. Julio Cesar Chavez, ride punches, right? People say he had a hell of a chin. I mean, he did take some hellacious shots. And he does have a hell of a chin, but he also rides a lot of punches. When you go with the punch, you take the steam off the punch. That's the idea. Jake LaMotta versus Sugar Ray Robinson. Jake LaMotta was explaining, I have real quick reaction time. So when Robinson would throw the right hand, as soon as I got touched, I knew to go with the punch. And that's a reaction most boxers have, actually. You're supposed to develop that so that you won't get broken jaws. Otherwise, a guy punching with that kind of, velocity, he could just take off, your lower jaw could just break off here, fracture. I mean, Ken Norton broke Ali's jaw with a punch. These guys punch very hard, heavyweights particularly. If you don't ride punches, you're going to have a broken jaw. Yeah? That makes sense? So, these guys punch very, 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 very hard. And there's only so much pressure a jaw can take before it breaks. So, obviously, these guys are doing something extra to keep their jaws, right? Right? You got to ride punches. Even if it gets past your guard, let's say this is your guard here, right? And the punch somehow got past your guard, it's coming to the tip of your chin here, you need to ride that motherfucker. You gotta ride it. If you just let that man hit you on the button there, this whole thing here could give out and go with it and break off. See? That's just something in boxing that boxers, you're supposed to be able to do some of that, early in your boxing career. That's part of your defense. So if it gets past, let's say it gets past your guard, your shoulder, your guard, whatever, then the next line of defense is movement. You got to move with that punch, man. But some guys, even if they do all of that, they still get knocked out. Yeah, so Canelo's that kind of guy. You guys don't, that's why I try to keep it balanced all the time. I'm trying to tell you all the truth. I'm not trying to lie with you guys. I'm not just a Canelo fanboy or whatever fanboy, right? I'm trying to keep it 100 with you guys about boxing. And so I tell you the great things about a fighter, but I also tell you about the deficiencies of that fighter. And then I'll tell you why I believe that fighter, he won't do X or Y won't happen to him. I am confident that Canelo can go wherever he wants to, fight whoever he wants to, and he won't get stopped because I know he has defense. But defense alone don't win you fights. You got to have offense as well, right? It's about landing on a guy, right? So, in this case, what Canelo's deficient in at times is his offense. So no matter what, he can't sometimes get to a guy. He can't get to the dude. And the reason he can't get to that dude, you understand what I'm saying? Why unlike Floyd, who can disable a jab and really get to anybody, no matter what kind of jab you got, he can close the distance on you. It's because of his foot movement, and the fact that he has consistency with foot movement. He don't get tired. His cardio is crazy, right? So he can close the distance on a guy. Canelo can't do that because his cardio is not up to spark. He can't do just about anything he wants in the ring in terms of consistently doing it at a high rate, at a high pace, at a high activity. You see, he has to stop. He has to do the staccato thing. He has to regenerate. Then he can go again. So he can do things in spurts. He can throw combinations in spurts. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 punch combinations. Then he got to take a break. Then he got to go again. He can do, he can bob and weave and all that kind of shit. And then he got to take a break. That's the problem with Canelo. You got it? So he has to work on drills and regiments so that he's not just the staccato fighter where he's just doing things and he needs a rest in between. He has to be a fighter that's consistent for the whole duration of a fight. The whole 36 minutes, he needs to be consistent. He's not consistent. And he tried to do this consistently by minimizing his movement, which is precise footwork. You understand? And so what he would do is walk fighters down off the back foot. He would use his upper body strength to upper body movement to swivel away from punches and then pivot away, and he had that down pat. And he's brilliant with it off the ropes and in the center of the ring, but he's not moving his feet that much. Because his problem is moving his feet. He don't like moving his feet plenty. Very efficient with it. But you can't have that when you're dealing with a guy that's very mobile and still catching with shots. You have to move your feet to match his foot movement. That's the way how you're going to get the angles and get in position to do what you need to do against him. And that's where he lacks that. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. And what he tried to do was he tried to bait Bivol into coming to him. But because he's not moving, the illusion is easy for Bivol to see. He could see through the illusion because you're just sitting up on the ropes there. I didn't put you on the ropes. You put yourself on the ropes. I know you're trying to set a trap for me, right? He tried to do the same thing with Mayweather. Way back in 2013, he tried to do the same thing with Mayweather. And Mayweather saw through it immediately, right? Because you got to keep moving. You don't, if you just sit there, they're like, something's up, right? But if you're just moving and you're constantly moving on the back foot and you drew them in because you hit them with something and they want to get you back and they're coming after you, now you can set them up. That's where the foot movement comes in. You understand? And that's what he lacks. And I'm trying to explain this to people over and over again. He's not slow-footed. He's not flat-footed. None of that shit. He's just not consistent with the movement. And he can start off being, moving casually backwards and changing his movement and moving around the ring to make the guy follow him. He can start off like that. He don't have to have a whole set of great pace and great speed and all of that. But he needs to move more. And he can't afford to get tired while he's moving. Right? But you can't just be sitting up against the ropes posing. Motherfucker, they're gonna watch you like something's up. I'm not going in there. And this is stuff that he tried to do to conserve his foot movement. And anytime Canelo gets tired, he's going to stay off the ropes and chill and use his upper body movement. That's what he's using. Against Bivol, that's what he was using. And he's trying to regroup himself to be able to make another surge and so on. Because you got to pace yourself. It's like a marathon when you're boxing. And I understand what he was trying to do, but that ain't going to work. It's not going to cut it. Not with that kind of fighter. You got to have the cardio. You got to have the cardio. Otherwise, that fighter's going to beat you every single day of the week. So that's Canelo's problem. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. It's not he's a slow fighter. None of that. He's quick. He's sharp. He got power. He got everything. Except consistency with movement at a high rate or a high pace. And he needs to have that. That's the tool that he's missing. And that's the tool that will get him beat. And I'm sure if he could have hung with Caleb Plant, he'd have gotten him out of there. He'd have got Caleb Plant out of there. Because Caleb Plant didn't have a right hand, right? But he can't close the distance like he wants to because he don't have the foot activity to do that. He's going to blow his load trying to just close the distance on Caleb Plant. Bobbing and weaving, all that stuff. So he tried to keep it simple and just walk him down, keep pressure, and inch in. That's what he was doing. You got it? So that's the problem with Canelo. That's his problem. If that makes sense to everybody, then I've done my job. And Canelo now, he has to come out of his comfort zone of trying to trick us in the boxing world into thinking that he's just improved by leaps and bounds. No, he's the same fighter. Cardio speaking, he's the same fighter. He still gasses out when he has to expend a lot of energy. So you need to work on expending a lot of energy and not gassing out, Canelo. You can't do shortcuts. You get exposed by a fighter who can expose you. And you know Demetrius Andrade would expose your ass. You knew that. That's why you didn't even try to fight him. And you say he's a horrible fighter. Okay? And I know now for a fact you cannot beat him right now. But in the future, you might be able to do so if you work on the thing that homeboy been telling you to work on since the Lara fight 8 years ago. You should have been working on that shit. Get on it. Get on it now. And no casual fucking sparring. Hard work. You say you like working hard? Well, work hard on this. That's where you need to work on. And you need to do it like yesterday. You need to start working on that shit like yesterday. And that'll make you a much better fighter. That will make you a much improved fighter. Right? Much improved fighter. But you got to work on mastering that. And it's going to take you probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years to master that really properly. But as you get older and you get wiser and you get smarter, you'll know how to implement it and everything. But you got to work on that shit. You have to work on it. I don't care if you have a bad knee, a good knee, whatever. You got to work on that shit. Because that shit, you got to work on it. If you want to be the best, that's what you got to do. Crawford, all them boys have that. They have that in their game. Errol Spence, Crawford, Shakur, Devin Haney for sure. Devin Haney's legs. Devin Haney's all legs. You know, and people make fun of this. Oh, they are runners. They're running. It's running. Bullshit. Okay? Deontay Wilder never worked on that shit. And you saw what happened with him with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury got that game down pat. Right? Let me give you another example of so-called non-runner, right? Manny Pacquiao work on that shit. He's not really a stick and mover though, but he work on it. You know, he always moving. He's a little bit more unorthodox. He's not really a stick and mover though, but he's a counterpuncher. But he still move. You know what I'm saying? He always moving. Let me see who else I could think of right now who didn't work on it and they got their ass beat. Right? Mike Tyson was never a stick and mover. That's why Lennox Lewis would have whooped his ass no matter when it happens. And Evander Holyfield will whoop his ass. And Holyfield is not the greatest stick and mover either. But he's pretty good. He's pretty proficient. And he was able to set up counters on Mike Tyson. Right? And again, Mike Tyson, you know, his name is out there. He's a great fighter and everything. I give him his props. But if you push his ass backwards, he don't know what the fuck to do. That's the truth. So when people talk about runners and runners and runners, that's very important in boxing, man. You got to be able to box off the back foot. And for the right reasons. If you don't have the right reasons, you're going to get knocked the hell out. If you're just trying to survive, you're going to get knocked out. Ain't nobody just fighting off the back foot trying to survive. Well, there are few of them that have survived. But as you go along in your career, you're going to get knocked out. Back foot boxing is not about surviving a fight. Nobody care about that. If you want to survive a fight, if you're really in survival mode, you're going to clinch that motherfucker. That's what you're going to do. You're going to lock him up. Fighting off the back foot is the wrong reason to want to try and survive a fight. That's just not, if that's your motivation, you're going to get wiped out. right? Especially by a good pressure fighter. No, back foot boxing is to set up a guy to land, set traps and stuff. That's why you do back foot boxing, because 90% of the time knockouts come when a guy's walking into a shot. He's walking into a shot. He's overconfident. Didn't see the shot coming. Boom. 90% of the knockouts come that way. It's hardly ever when a guy's moving forward. I mean, Marvin Hagler versus Thomas the Hitman Hearns. Hagler was coming forward, throwing all his weight behind the punch. You had Julio Cesar Chavez versus Roger Mayweather. Roger Mayweather was moving back, but Julio Cesar Chavez came with a leaping, I think it was a leaping left hook or a leaping right hook. I can't remember which one. And he clipped him. But for the most part, you look at it, Deontay Wilder versus Louis Ortiz. Louis Ortiz was walking into Deontay Wilder both times and got clipped. You look at George Foreman versus Michael Moore. Michael Moore was walking into George Foreman's punch. Set him up. You set up the knockout. You know, guys generally walk into the shot. So 99% of the time, 90% of the time when knockouts happen, they happen when a fighter is moving backwards. And then, boom. People don't talk about this, but that's the truth. You walk a guy into a shot. He's overconfident. You want him to be overconfident. You want him to think that what he's doing is working. Tyson Fury versus Dillian White. Dillian White walked into the uppercut, right? He was coming forward. And Tyson Fury walked him up into the uppercut. He blinded him first, and then walked him up into the uppercut. And after he walked him up into the uppercut, he pushed him off so that he wouldn't fall in on him, right? He pushed him off with the forearm, and that was that, right? Povetkin, when he knocked out Dillian White was throwing a jab. He was on the offensive, and then Povetkin came under with the uppercut, right? He came under with the uppercut and knocked his ass out, right? Anthony Joshua, Dillian White was coming with a hook, and Anthony Joshua came with a right uppercut as he was hooking and knocked him out, right? So when you think about it, Derek Chisora versus Dillian White. Dillian White caught him with a left hook while Derek Chisora was coming in, I think, with his left hook as well. They were both trading hooks. Knocked him out. So when you think about it, usually it's a counter that puts the guy to sleep. It's not a straight up and down knockout. You know, you think of Julian Jackson versus the slick southpaw. He was coming in for the kill. He came with a straight left, and Julian Jackson caught him with a check right hook. He caught him with a check right hook, and he ran right into the check right hook and knocked him out, right? He was fast asleep, right? So, like I said before, most knockouts come as a result of a guy setting up to knock out the other guy. He's on the back foot, he moves, he shifts his weight, boom. That's how most knockouts come, if you think about it. You think of Ricky Hatton knockout. Floyd was moving backwards, check hook him into the ropes. Boom, he was knocked out, right? Now, there are other ways people get knocked out, but my point is, generally speaking, you know, you walk somebody into a shot. You know, Crawford versus Kell Brook. Kell Brook was throwing that lead right hand, and Terrence came with that check hook, knocked him out. You understand what I'm saying? So you look at it. That's why they say, I'm not looking for I'm not trying to press for the knockout. If the knockout come, it come. Knockouts come in spectacular fashion, generally because you get the other guy to do something and get him offensive, so it opens up his defense, and you're able to counter him or walk him into something. And that's what back foot boxing is about. It's about walking a guy into a trap, springing the trap on him, and catching him with a punch. Maybe you don't knock him out, but you land a money shot, a clean shot on him, and everybody sees it. The judges all see it, and they're like, whoa! And that's how that works. So I just wanted to talk about that in boxing and get out of the way. But yeah, I just had to put this up because I was seeing they talking about how Bivol, this dude, I forgot what the guy's name is, from Michigan actually. He was talking about how Bivol, you know, he can't do certain things to get BWF, and BWF can punch through your guard and blah blah blah. And I'm like, Dude, what Bivol do, he always gonna do the same thing. He gonna do the same thing against Bitterbeer because he controls range. And Bitterbeer will have to be pivoting all the time and turning, and Bivol always turning you, and he got pivot work, and his jab cuts through your guard. You know what I mean? He got an excellent jab, and he does different kinds of jabs, and then he'll land his combinations down the middle or hooks to the body, to the head. Slow Bitterbeer down even more, and piece him up. I mean, a lot of times people just don't see what the other fighter brings to the table. Bivol and they do their homework. They know what BDBF does well and what he doesn't do well, and then they just go to work. I mean, it's just not rocket science. Boxing, the nice thing about boxing is that it has certain rules and regulations in place. BDBF can't just run across the ring and grab Bivol and slam dunk him. Maybe back in the day before the Marcus and Queensberry rules, you could do that in a boxing match, but not today. So as a result of that, because of the limitations that you have in hand-to-hand combat in boxing, there's certain things that cannot be done in the ring. And of course, you have to protect yourself at all times. You never know what a guy will do. But barring injury, Bivol beats Bitterbeer pretty easily, I think. Pretty easily. Pretty handily. Shutout. So, that's just my take on these things. Anyways, this is what you need in the building. I think we as fans, we have a different mindset to fighters, and we must bear that in mind. So, when Canelo says, I think I want to fight, or I want that rematch, y'all are panicking for Canelo, and Canelo's like, he been in there. He been in the ring with Bivol. He been in there. Okay? You didn't go in the ring with Bivol. You didn't take punches from Bivol. So if there's anybody who says they want a rematch, I honor Anthony Joshua. He won a rematch with Usyk. Y'all don't think he could beat Usyk. He's not thinking like that. Canelo, I honor Canelo if Canelo wants that immediate rematch with Bivol. Because you've been in the ring with him. You know what it is to be in the ring with him. I have not been. Alright? You should be able to take advice and counsel from different people. But only you know what you faced. You have to be confident in your skills. And you must understand what you need to do to beat him the second time. Obviously, you need to do something. So, this is what I'm saying. The only two people who really know what really went down in that ring firsthand is Bivol and Canelo. They know firsthand what really went down, because they're the ones that share the ring together. So who am I to say to Canelo, no, don't do the rematch, that's a dangerous fight with Bivol? No, push yourself. They talk about pushing yourself to the next level. Push yourself. Alright, in that ring, the difference between Bivol and you, I believe, was your feet. Couldn't get to him, he could get to you. So, do something about that. And let's see the rematch. It may not be an immediate rematch. It may be something where you fight this guy and that guy, get yourself in a position to face Bivol again, and then you guys end up facing each other again. But show me, don't tell me, show me you could beat Floyd Mayweather, Canelo. Show me it. Don't tell me you could beat Mayweather and there's no evidence to support that. Show me. You clearly right now, this fight proves that you cannot beat Floyd Mayweather. And in prime for prime, whatever that means, you is not going to beat Floyd Mayweather. You just was not going to do it. And show me that you can do what you say you can do. You know what I mean? Back it up. And I appreciate the fact that you took on Bivol. I also appreciate the fact you made no excuses. Now you turning around saying you won the fight. But fuck that. That's just ego talking. Now show me you can win that fight. You know? Show me you can win that fight. That's all I'm saying to Canelo. I think Canelo and Eddie Reynoso have done a great job in their careers. But me personally, I think that Canelo has some work to do in his training camps and in his camps, and when he goes back to training, with respect to his footwork, consistency, and the activity. That is the thing. I think that, or once you do that, Canelo, I think you're gonna be a force to reckon with. But you gotta get that. You gotta get that or iron out. And maybe a Benitez fight might be the fight you need to have next, or the Triple G fight. I mean, the Triple G fight or the Benitez fight. They're not easy fights in terms of just saying, oh, they're easy fights. But I can tell you, they're not as difficult as a Bivol fight, in my opinion, in terms of styles and what you've handled before. So whether you go ahead and you take on Triple G, that'll be a good fight, and I think you knock him out. But we have to wait and see. But at least finish off the Triple G trilogy. Give us a Benavidez fight. Give us a Charlo fight if you want. By that time, you should have worked on your footwork in terms of activity. And then, if you want to, you can give us the Andrade fight before you go to the Bivol fight. Because if you could beat Demetrius Andrade, that's a big tall order. But nonetheless, let's think like a boxer. If you could beat Demetrius Andrade, you definitely will beat Dimitri Bivol. And they're both Demetrius, right? So if you can beat Andrade, you definitely will beat Bivol. If you can't beat Andrade, and I'm not talking about with the judge's decision, you must know for yourself. You must know for yourself if you could beat Andrade. You know, if you beat Andrade, you will beat Dimitri Bivol. No if, buts, or maybe. Andrade's a better fighter than Bivol. And he's at 168. So, that'll be, you know, you work your way back up to Bivol. And Bivol will be there. And if you beat Bivol, you avenge your loss. Maybe you do best of 3. You know, and you avenge your loss. All's good. Because, like I said before, losing is one thing. But coming back, and a true champion takes a loss and bounce back. If you can bounce back from that and beat Bivol or somebody like Bivol, then you show us that you got that. You got that down pat now. All right, you grew past the Mayweather experience. But as of this moment, whether you like it or not, or whether you think it's a thorn in your side or not, you still haven't gotten past that Mayweather experience. And people are always going to question you concerning the Erislandy Lara win, even though I think you won that fight. And I thought it was a close fight, but I thought you won that fight. But they're still going to question you with respect to Erislandy Lara as well. You know? And, you know, it is what it is. You have to show us. You have to show us. You can tell us, but there's nothing quite like showing us that you got past that. Because you got washed by Bivol. Bivol washed you. He outboxed you in every single area. You got washed. The judges, I don't know what the hell they was looking at. Maybe they was all biased. They thought you was going to knock him out, so they was giving you rounds early on. But the judges just totally did not get that fight. That fight was nothing like what they judged. It was not that close. Okay? Yeah, whoever's telling you in your ear, man, the fight was close. It wasn't. They're lying to you. Okay? That fight was not close. That fight was a Bivol fight. Typical Bivol fight. That's how Bivol do his thing. So which means you have to work on your footwork. You have to. You're not going to be competitive with guys like that if you don't work on your footwork. You'll beat you know, inexperienced guys like, you know, Caleb Plant. And Caleb Plant would have beaten you if he knew how to deal with getting knocked down. He just did not know what to do once he got knocked down. Not to say that you didn't soften him up with a blow in the round before, but he just did not know what to do once he got knocked down. And that's the experience factor right there. With you and Floyd, you know, you didn't know what to do after you tried to bait him in, after you tried to counterpunch him. Your jab was working a little bit, but you didn't know what to do. You was kind of out of, you in your corner was like clueless. It was like, what do we do now, right? And I saw that same thing when you had to deal with Caleb Plant, but Eddie Reynoso actually kept you calm and let you work through it, and you beat him. And then I saw the same thing with Dimitri Bivol. You were frustrated in the 6th round, and you pick up Bivol like you wanted to slam dunk him or something. Just tell him, I'm strong, ninja. I'm strong. I'll beat your ass. But it didn't work, right? So I'm saying to you, that um, master boxers are master boxers because they can move. And for you to be that master boxer, you have to be able to move too. So that when they move, you can move with them. And it's not just about cutting off the ring. You have to be able to move when they pivot out of a circle. And you must be able to cut them off if they're pivoting out. You don't let them off the hook like that. So, for me, I think Canelo's a hell of a fighter and everything, but he has some stuff to work on. You just have some stuff to work on. It has nothing to do with, I'm sure you would beat BWF. I'm sure you would beat Joe Smith Jr. I'm sure you might even beat Charlo. You know? You're not beating Andrade. Not with what you have. You're not gonna be not with what you have. You're not gonna beat him. I can tell you that. And you gotta stop saying he's a horrible fighter. You need to give him his honor. Give him his respect. Say, hey, champ, here's what's up. You fight a name, you beat that name, and we'll talk about it. You know, we'll talk about it. Give him his respect he deserves. You know, you respect Charlo, but give Andrade the respect he deserves. Not everybody has the opportunity to face somebody out there, and unfortunately for Andrade, you know, he's been facing the same kind of fighter at a lower tier than you have. He's been feasting on Euro fighters, a lot of them. But you know, there's a lot of Euro fighters also in those divisions, so it is what it is. And people are accusing you of facing Euro fighters and all this shit. I don't get it. You know, I still think you faced a quality fighter in Caleb Plant. I thought Caleb Plant would beat you. You proved me wrong. So kudos to you on that. Billy Joe Saunders let me down. He let me down. And you beat his ass. And I knew he was going to beat his ass because he didn't want to be there. And then you beat Callum Smith. I knew you were going to beat Callum Smith because Callum Smith don't really fight on the inside. And he throw everything long. So I knew you were going to beat him. But I think a lot of people didn't know that. So that was some good credit for that. Styles make fights. But Callum Smith's a hell of a fighter. And Callum Smith's going to prove his worth. He's going to show. He already stopped the fighter already. He's going to show he's a force to reckon with also in the light heavyweight division. I truly believe Callum Smith's a fantastic fighter, and he's going to prove it to everybody. You know, unfortunately, he encountered you, and I mean, he was not ready. He really wasn't. But that's a good win. I don't take nothing away from you with that win. That was a good win. Like, you know, I wouldn't go the route of, oh, Callum Smith, he was green, he was inexperienced. Nah, bullshit. Bullshit. He was a fantastic fighter. He was the lineal champion. He was the number one. He was the number one 175 pounder in the division, according to the ring. I thought him and David Benavidez were the green ones in terms of all-around game, but he not green. You know, he world champion and everything. That's a proper win in his prime and everything. You know, that's a proper win. Didn't want to make excuses. Fuck that. You know, Caleb Plant, proper win. I predicted that Caleb Plant would beat you, and you proved me wrong. That's a proper win. No matter what people say. And I'm going to say this. Caleb Plant's going to beat David Benavidez. He's going to beat David Benavidez. I believe, I back Plant to beat David Benavidez. David Benavidez wanted to smoke, though. I like that. David Benavidez, if you prove me wrong and beat Caleb Plant, more kudos, more power to you. I'm just looking at it from a boxing perspective. I'm not looking at it from anything else. I may be wrong. I'm just a fan. You never know what the boxer is capable of. And you might prove me wrong. Like Eddie Hearn saying that Jake Paul ain't going to become world champion. Fuck out of here. Who is he to tell Jake Paul what he can and can't do? And who am I to tell you what you can and can't do? Who you can and can't beat? You know what I mean? For a real boxer, real boxers, they don't think like that. A real boxer don't think like that. They test their limits, they push the anvil, they do what they do. So David Benavidez want all the smoke. He want to show everybody what he really could do. And we need to put him in there with somebody who got pedigree and everything so he can show what he really is about and what he really can do. He want to showcase his skills. So who's to say? He may show up and show some real good shit when he gets a proper opponent. Right now, he may not be as motivated, to face, because, the guys don't have name and stuff. He's not as motivated. You never know. You know what I'm saying? David Benavidez, I know the Benavidez brothers, I've heard that name with the Jarrells for the longest while. I've heard that name for the longest while. And the gyms all over the place. Them guys is legendary. When Jose Benavidez was about to face Jamal Charlo, that was a hell of a fight because of the reputation of the Benavidez brothers. And David's the younger one. And David, the younger one always benefit from the older ones. Canelo's the same thing. He the last. David's after Jose. So Jose kind of paved the way for David to do bigger and better things. So, and his father, man, Jose Sr., man, did a hell of a job with David. Hell of a job with David. And a good job with Jose as well. So I have nothing but respect for these people. Because to raise a world champion, a two-time world champion, and the other one a top contender, that's fucking phenomenal, man. That's fucking phenomenal. You gotta have respect for these dudes. I respect everything that comes out of Jose's mouth. I may not agree with everything, but I respect that man. Okay, that man produced 2 world-class boxers. I've never done that shit. I've never even boxed professionally. Who am I to say anything against this man? All right, this man, as I said before, talk is fucking cheap. Show me, right? So, it's about showing, not fucking telling. You know what I'm saying? And the proof is in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? So, I respect Jose Benavidez. I admire him. And his two sons. And I will not be surprised if Jose Benavidez becomes world champion somewhere down the road. But it's a long road, and it's a lot of thankless days and a lot of difficult days and a lot of hard work and dedication. When these guys don't have a fight or anything, they working. You know what I'm saying? They're dedicated to what they do more than anybody out here. And not even I'm as dedicated to what I do as they're dedicated to what they do. So I got mad respect for these guys, and they're young guys, much younger than I am. I have a lot of respect for them. I have a lot of respect for Canelo. I mean, Canelo is only 31 years of age. This man is not even, he's not even, close to the end of his prime age. He's got at least a year or so more of prime. And this dude is like, he's fighting hungry, man. He's fighting a lot of fights every year. You got to give him mad props, man. Canelo is a hell of a fighter. And I just want to see him get better. That's all. I just want to see him get better. I want to see him be able to beat the Bivos. Be able to say, well, this is a guy that, once upon a time, Floyd Mayweather was schooling his ass. But now when I look at him, he's on Mayweather's level now. He's a fighter that if he fought Floyd Mayweather, I don't know really who would win. And when I could say something like that, I know this guy has improved. I can't say that right now. I can't say he beat Andre Ward. I can't say that. I can't say he would beat Roy Jones Jr. I can't say that. He might. He might stop Roy Jones Jr. You never know. But, it's kind of hard to say because mobility. You see, that's the thing that kind of handicaps him. He's not consistent in his mobility and in the capabilities of his mobility. He's not consistent in that area. That's his Achilles heel. You need to work on that, and he needs to work on all elements of his game where he's not very strong in. He needs to work on those games. But he's coming along well. Canelo, he's got his career is nowhere near over. He has at least I think he has a good 4 or 5 years left in the tank. I mean 6, 7, 8 if he wants. Because he got that defense, he can go as long as he wants to. And I think within that space of time, if he doesn't just fucking sit on the abilities he already has and develop those, if he works on his movement, he will be a force to fucking reckon with, period. Nobody, I won't be able to say, oh, this guy could beat him, that guy could beat him. I won't be able to say that at all. So I'm hoping that, he works on that aspect of his game. With Vasily Lomachenko, he is what he is. I don't expect him to ever improve any further than what he is. But with Canelo, I expect him to improve. He's still at that age where he can still make those changes. Albeit he's doing it kind of late, but he still can work on those changes. But if he doesn't work on those changes, he is what he is as well. He will be a limited fighter for the rest of his career. That's what he is. So we hope and we watch to see what he will do with himself. But this is boxing, man. This is boxing, and I love the sport of boxing, and I have a lot of respect for the boxers in boxing from all history, all time. I'm not trying to, hate on anybody. Don't think that I look down on certain fighters. There was one guy who was saying, "Oh, you hate Duran." I'm like, fuck no. I'm a fan of Duran. What the fuck you talking about? I'm just telling the truth about Duran to you guys. I want you guys to know all about aspects of his career that people say he was this, that, and the other, and I just bring out certain things. Duran's a fucking phenomenal fighter. Bait and counter? What? This motherfucker knew how to bait and counter, man. You do it 100 different kinds of ways. It's phenomenal. But of course, everything is dependent on range. But you can learn a lot from Duran, and I personally learned a couple things from him, and I try to apply it when I can. You know what I mean? Not to say that I'm up the level that can do it, but I still try it. I try it. Why the fuck? Well, why not try it? So I try it. In my time, and I try the different things that he do, and I try to use those techniques. If it's useful for my style, I'll use it. You know what I mean? It's good to practice everything you see. When you see a fighter do X, Y, and Z, try it out. Try it out. Why is that a bad thing? You know what I'm saying? So, great boxers are great for a reason. They were great in their time. They were dominant in their time for a reason. It wasn't just no reason at all. And when you can understand that and articulate what it is that made them so great, that's important. What makes them great defines their style of fighting. You see? So, borrowing from them is not a sin. And making it your own style, your own way of doing things is not a sin. That's how you yourself become a great fighter. So there's nothing wrong with that. So I really have no hate against the past greats, or any great for that matter, because I want to see what made them great. I want to be able to apply that. I want to apply the attributes and the qualities also of them that made them great, and take some of those qualities and put it into my life as well. I mean, that's what boxing, that's the beauty of boxing. It's very inspirational. Anyways, man, I talked boxing with you guys for maybe a total of 5 hours today. And we're going on 2 hours and 3 minutes. I talked a lot of boxing. I love talking about boxing, especially about things that people assume to be true. And I'm not saying that being dogged and the mentality that is necessary to be successful in boxing is false. No, you have to be a certain sort of mentality and etc. But what I'm saying is that, when people say, "Oh, well, this guy, he need to hurt this guy. If he can't hurt this guy, if he can't put something on him, then he can't win the fight." That's not true. Yes, you need to let the guy respect your power. Otherwise, he'll just walk through it and you take all the punches. Of course. But you'll be surprised what fighters use to get people to respect them. Weird things like jabs. Weird things like a body punch. Well-placed body punch. The guy's not a heavy puncher, but he placed that punch in a certain place that hurt the fighter. Right? He's not known as a big puncher. Like Louis Collazo, not known as a big puncher. Placed a beautiful punch on Keith Thurman. Now, Keith Thurman still stopped him, but Keith Thurman had to be reminiscent of, hey, I need to protect this just in case. Right? Mario Barrios was not stopped by Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman had to respect him. Body punch. Right? Jab. His jab was on point. He was jabbing Keith Thurman, keeping Keith Thurman off of him. right? Just a jab. Just a jab. But jabs can be, they can do so many different things, right? So, you, as a master boxer, Colonel Whitaker wasn't the biggest puncher in the world, right? He bedazzled Julio Cesar Chavez, who was knocking out everybody left, right, and center, right? So, just telling me that you can't hurt a guy, you can't hurt him, so that means he'll overwhelm you and he'll walk you down and get you out of there. It's not true. That is not how boxing works. Right? Otherwise, Paulie Malignaggi never become world champion. Because Paulie Malignaggi, all he had was a jab. He didn't have a right hand. He didn't have nothing else. He wouldn't become two-time world champion. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he stopped Senchenko in Senchenko's country. The Senchenko, well, I believe, stopped Ricky Hatton. Right? What's this guy's name? Oh shit. 140 pounder. He stopped the 140 pounder. He stopped Lucas Matisse. Lucas Matisse was a murderous puncher. Right? They said, I forgot what his name was. They said that he was the WBC. He was fighting for the WBC title. He was not known as a puncher, but yet he knocked out Hank Lundy, and he knocked out Lucas Matisse, and he knocked out another prominent fighter. But he didn't have a high KO ratio or none of that shit. He wasn't known as a puncher. How did he do it? Well-placed punching. Well-timed punching. I forgot what his name is. Terrence Crawford fought him and beat him for the WBC title. I forgot what his name is. Victor Pastol. Victor Pastol. Not known as a puncher. It's not known as a puncher. Okay? And he stopped these guys. Meaning, you look at a guy from outside and you say, oh, this guy, he can't hurt them guys. So this is part of your prediction. He can't hurt this guy. He don't have the punching power to, hurt this guy. And then he comes and he hurts the guy. Because that's how boxing works. That's how boxing works. It's not about KO power. It's about styles. Styles make fights. And sometimes it also has to do with the situation through which boxers may go through. Sometimes you hit a guy clean on the chin, he goes nowhere. But you hit him on the top of the head, and he drops like a fly. That's how boxing works. Right? It's weird. Guys can have a hell of a chin. You hit them to the body, they crumble. No big set of punching. No heavy set of punching. Just well-placed punch. They crumble. Boxing's weird like that. You don't know what will work for who. Just because the guy's walking through certain punches that guys are directing doesn't mean that he won't crumble with something else that just come out of left field and you realize, oh shit, I just hit him on the top of the head and he went down. Who would have thought? You know what I mean? That's boxing. Right? So, I say all of this just to say that don't listen to people who tell you, oh, this guy, man, if he got hit by a non-puncher. He got hit by a non-puncher. A non-puncher beat him. So therefore these punches would murder him. That doesn't work like that. Boxing don't work like that. Okay? Boxing don't work like that. That's like the triangular theory. Triangular theory don't work in boxing. Styles make fights. So when somebody tell you something like that and you haven't explored all the variables of the different fighters and how they would match up with one another, Shane Mosley beat the brakes off on Tony Margarito. But then when he started to fight a master boxer, and Tony Margarito, of course, is a swarmer brawler. Swarmer brawler pressure fighter, right? Beat the brakes off him. But then when he had to face a skilled boxer, the tables turned on him. And he was getting beat up, right? Styles make fights. They say If Floyd was to face Margarito, he would get beat like Miguel Cotto. This is what they said. I don't know how true that would be. But the point is styles make fights. So you can't look at Canelo being whitewashed by Bivol and Bivol doing whatever he wants with Canelo and say that will apply to uh, uh, Bitterbiev or Artur Bitterbiev or it will apply to Joe Smith Jr. No, it doesn't. It doesn't automatically apply to nothing. You have to look at what their style is and what they bring to the table. And if Bitterbiev is not particularly a fast-footed, quick-footed fighter, he's not. Okay, Joe Smith Jr. is not either. So why are you telling me this? These are different fighters. These are different kinds of fighters. Oh, because you see, they are 175 pounders. They hit differently and blah 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 blah. I'm like, well, wait. He did fight a 175 pounder, and he had success against one. He actually stopped the one 175 pounder, a prominent guy named Sergey Kovalev. So if he stopped Sergey Kovalev, but he lost to Artur Bitterbiev, to Dmitry Bivol, that means he's 1-1. Well, Sergey Kovalev was old and he was drained and blah, 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 blah. No, it doesn't work like that. He beat one, he lost to one. That's what happened. And styles make fights. Yes, Sergey Kovalev was beating him on points, I thought. But truth be told, he still got the knockout. And he did the same kind of thing to Caleb Plant at 168. So I believe it has to do more with the style than it has to do with mass and weight. I don't think it has to do with mass and weight. I think it has to do with his style. He has difficulty with the style where he has to move excessively around the ring. Right? That's what I think. And I think once he works on that, he's going to have the cardio and everything to move around the ring, the energy to move around the ring, and to handle the situation like he ought to. How much you need? 2 hours and 21 minutes and 50 seconds in. We talked a lot of boxing. I'm going to catch you guys later. It was nice talking with you guys. Peace, and I'm gone.